It's been a while, but we're back again for another episode. In Season 2, it's Episode 2 of Express Talk, and this week I'm joined by Dave Brown from Around the Ring. Thank you for coming on.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me on. I always enjoy talking to you. I was on your show last year at some point, and or a few months back, and you were on our show, and it's always a good time talking to you, so thank you for having me.
Well, it is always a good time talking to you, too. Well, usually how things kick off is that we break into the news of the week, and I think that one news story trumps all the others because, unfortunately, the wrestling world has suffered another terrible loss. So I think I'm going to kick it to you to start off talking about the Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Yeah, Bobby the Brain Heenan was... I think when all said and done, he is going to go down as one of the overall all-time greatest performers in wrestling history. I hadn't actually thought of it in that way until earlier in the week. I was listening to the Voices of Wrestling podcast. Guys on there had put it in that way, and then as I thought about it, I was like, he's right. Heenan was a worker. He was a manager. He was a commentator. He was one of the greatest on the mic of all time. He could take a bump like a champion. I mean, he made Hulk Hogan look like $1 million. He was amazing at always putting people over. It was never about him. It was about getting the feud, the match, the rivalry, whatever, over. And he did that just better than probably anyone. He was a special talent, and had he not been in professional wrestling, I think guys like David Letterman and Johnny Carson and Jay Leno would have had a hard time keeping up with their own jobs, because he would have been just a perfect late night talk show host. So yeah, he was quick-witted, apparently from all accounts just a tremendous human being, and it was a hell of a loss. It really sucks that he passed away. He fought with the cancer for a long time, and it effed him up hardcore. But he persevered through it and kept doing things, kept meeting fans, and yeah, he was just one of a kind.
I agree. I agree completely, and it is sort of depressing to see, well, not sort of depressing, it's depressing to see how much the cancer, fucked him up. But... And it was not only the cancer, a lot of it also was the chemo and the therapy. I mean, he just got hosed. Yeah. Poor guy. But I was on Attitude of Aggression podcast last night, and it's like I told the host on that. I said on Twitter that, I said on Instagram. That's what it was. I said on Instagram that if you've never seen a Bobby Heenan promo, if you've never seen Bobby Heenan commentate, you don't know what you're missing. And I was fortunate enough to grow up at the end of Bobby Heenan's run, or near the end of Bobby Heenan's run with WCW, and I know at that time, dare I say, Bobby was out of his prime, and maybe even that he didn't really like his job with WCW, but even off his game, Bobby Heenan was still one of the best color commentators. And, just to throw it out there, something I forgot to say last night is that there's something there when Paul Heyman and Jim Cornette, two of the greatest managers of all time, say that they're not the greatest managers of all time. Bobby Heenan is the greatest manager of all time.
Oh yeah, and I think kind of goes without saying. He was such an influence on people, and sadly, managers, at least in WWE, are not really used anymore. And in fact, I think about most of the promotion that I either follow or attempt to follow is more accurate statement. There aren't a ton of managers anymore. It's kind of this lost art form. Bobby Heenan was easily the greatest of all. I remember when I first started watching wrestling, I was a little kid in the 80s, and it was around WrestleMania 2. I was there for Hulkamania, the whole thing. And looking back, I think it's really safe to say, and this was, again, not an idea I came up with, but it's very safe to say that Hulk Hogan's greatest foil was Bobby Heenan. Because for the most part, through most of his WWE or WWF run, especially the first one as champion, it was always Hulk Hogan versus a Bobby Heenan guy. You know, you had Orndorff, you had Big John Studd, you had Andre, had King Kong Bundy, and these were just all Bobby Heenan guys. So it was really Bobby Heenan against Hulk Hogan. And then when he transitioned to commentary, he and Gorilla Monsoon were just incredible together. And then he went over to WCW because he needed the medical benefits and all that good stuff. And there was this is something actually we talked about today on our show, but the air quotes controversy over that moment at the Bash at the Beach where Hulk Hogan came out and joined the NWO and or formed the NWO really, and Bobby Heenan said, well, which side is he on? And there are people that say he spoiled it, he ruined it. And I remember watching that and thinking it just fit perfectly into who Bobby Heenan was. For over a decade, hell, going back to the AWA, this man had been telling us, Hulk Hogan is a shark, Hulk Hogan is not to be trusted, you can't believe a damn thing that comes out of this man's mouth. And so, of course, he is going to be the one that says, hey, this guy is going to turn on us. It made perfect sense in character, in kayfabe, for him to be the one to go, wait a minute, what is he doing here? So in recent years, you hear people complain about that, and I'm like, are you fucking high? Were you not watching at the time? And maybe kind of in retrospect, it seems that he ruined it or spoiled it or whatever. But I remember watching that at the time. I didn't watch it that night because I'd never get pay-per-view because I was a kid and my parents wouldn't let me. But I remember watching the clips, the next day on Nitro, and never thinking that was out of the ordinary, never thinking that was any kind of ooh moment. That was just Bobby Heenan being Bobby Heenan, questioning and doubting Hulk Hogan, which is kind of what he always did. So yeah, that was my thoughts on that. It like we said, it's a tremendously sad loss.
Yeah.
What did you think of that whole Bash at the Beach thing? How did you take that read on that?
Well, I completely agree with you. I think it was just Bobby Heenan being Bobby Heenan, and that, truth be told, we could do probably a fucking 4-hour show on why marks are idiots, and I think that this is a perfect indication of marks being marks. That, that I have been going back and forth with the Through the Ropes PW podcast on, not back and forth in a bad way. We've just been, discussing, and, cause I made the comment that, basically I'm sick and tired of trying to disregard my opinion on certain subjects to avoid pissing people off. Because it all started with the Starrcade thing. I don't know. Well, I mean, we could move on to that now, with the news breaking that WWE is bringing back Starrcade, in November, and they're gonna go to the Greensboro Coliseum, which I think is a perfect spot for them to do that, considering the Greensboro Coliseum was basically Starrcade's home for the early years of the event. Well, first, what do you think of WWE bringing back Starrcade?
I think they should have been using the Starrcade name for years. I always was of the opinion that they should have, especially during brand split eras when you have pay-per-views, why not mine some of the great pay-per-views that WCW had, and WCW/the AWA had some great pay-per-view names. I don't have a problem with them bringing back Starrcade. My only issue is the fact that it's probably not going to be broadcast. I would like it to be a Beast in the East type network special. Make it something really special.
Yeah.
And I think that would be really, really fun.
Yeah.
I think it's a shame and a crime that in October we are dealing with Hell in a Cell instead of Halloween Havoc, because Halloween Havoc is a much better name, and Hell in a Cell is something that, unlike Money in the Bank, where you can have every year a Money in the Bank pay-per-view, a pay-per-view based on a gimmick match that leads somewhere, Hell should be about blowing off feuds. And I mean, it's such a ham-fisted thing to try to make sure that feuds try to blow off in October. It just doesn't work. I mean, there have been really good Hell in the Cells the last few years, but then you have this random Hell in the Cell at WrestleMania with Shane and Undertaker a couple of years ago. So, I personally know the belief that Halloween Havoc should have been an October pay-per-view for a very long time. Then again, when they announced the brand split was coming back, I was of the belief that they should really go whole 9 yards and pick one of the shows and rename it WCW. Or hell, even ECW if they didn't want to use WCW. But let's, under this umbrella, let's make the three truly separate brands, give them each their own distinct name. And so you don't have the Raw Women's Championship, SmackDown Women's Championship. You have, say, the WWE Women's Championship and the WWE Women's Championship. You could do that. You could bring back all the old Starrcade names and gimmicks, except for, I mean, we're never going to get War Games as much as we want it. Because, they created the Elimination Chamber to essentially be War Games without being War Games.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as Starrcade is concerned, I think it's cool. I think it's if the whole plan is to take a house show, which was probably not going to draw a lot of people in Greensboro, and make it something special, the home of Starrcade, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm guessing from the way that you posed this question, discussions you've had online, our opinion might not be the popular one.
Well, first of all, if WWE is going to bring back an old pay-per-view, I'd love to see them bring back the Wrestle Rock Rumble from the AWA, and have the music video accompany it.
Oh, that would be great.
Because just to hear some of the wrestlers of today rapping about the Wrestle Rock Rumble, that would be hilarious. That would be hilarious because you get the New Day. Cause if you think about it, the New Day, Usos, and I'm even going to give the man credit where credit's due. John Cena can actually flow, so you'd have them on there, and then just suppose out against Baron Corbin. That would be hysterical. Well, nobody will be able to beat Larry Zbyszko and Nick Bockwinkel.
No, that's true.
Well, but you're right. It doesn't seem like we have the popular opinion because it seems like a lot of people are siding with the Rhodes, specifically Cody and Brandy, that the WWE is just copycatting WCW, that WWE is not giving credit where credit is due, that it's a Dusty Rhodes idea and then they shouldn't be using it. And I even said it on a social media site that on a Facebook page that I don't like anymore because of the people, that it's Vince McMahon owns the company. Vince McMahon owns WCW and is allowed to do whatever the fuck he wants with anything in the underneath the WCW banner, anything. Starrcade, Halloween Havoc, hell, what, from 2004 to 2011 he used the Bash name? The Great American Bash?
Needs to come back, I think.
Nobody made a big deal about when he was using the Great American Bash, but all of a sudden he's using WCW's biggest pay-per-view of the year, and he needs to give credit to Dusty. It's a freaking house show. It's a freaking house show. Who cares if he's using it?
Right, and even if they don't mention in the the announcement about it, there will probably be a tribute to Dusty Rhodes at the event.
Yeah.
So I love the idea that there is, and it's not going to happen, especially now that he's signed a stateside exclusive deal with Ring of Honor. But Cody Rhodes, reaching out to Michael Hayes on Twitter saying, hey, if you're going to do my dad's show, at least have Goldust in it. And then Michael Hayes responding, I'm paraphrasing here, basically saying, that's a great idea. Are you free that night? And if Ring of Honor would approve it, I think bringing Cody Rhodes for one show, it finally would actually be called Cody Rhodes, and either have him and Dusty tag, have him wrestle, or him and Goldust tag, or they wrestle each other. You let him come in with the Ring of Honor title, especially if it's a house show that's not going to be filmed and put on the network. But if there is, especially with that surge that came out, if there are more rumblings that WWE might be interested in Ring of Honor's tape library for the network, and one way to reach out in olive branches and say, hey, we'll put your champion on one of our network specials. He can wear the belt. Let's do this. Let's make some money. I tell you what, if WWE ever did sign that contract with Ring of Honor, and you could easily get Ring of Honor content on the WWE network, I would become a WWE network subscriber again, and I would gladly pay more than just $10 a month. I don't know if 20. I don't know if I'd be able to pay 20, but I would drop 15 a month for a WWE network that included Ring of Honor, that catalog, and current pay-per-views. I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there's still some bad blood between Cody and Brandy and WWE, but who knows? Maybe they're just working all of us. They're getting their names out there. This is an entire business based on working people. So
yeah, that's true.
And the people that get so up in arms about stuff, and granted, I get worked up about stuff and I get pissed and irritated, but they have to remember, it's fucking entertainment, man. And yeah, these people, men and women, are putting their lives on the line every night so we can have a good time watching them, and my hat's off to them. But of all of the things to get mad at WWE Vince McMahon about, Brock Stark can make a special night of the folks in Greensboro, probably near the bottom of the list of things you should be pissed off about.
Yeah, I'm not pissed at Brandy and Cody. I think they're just being petty. That is, if they're not just working us. But I'm more frustrated by the fans that are on their side, because the fans that are on their side are acting like wrestling fans always do, and by that I mean wrestling fans especially have a tendency to say that if you don't agree with them, you're wrong. That they don't hear your side, that if you don't agree, you're wrong.
And that's a byproduct of our current society, because sports fans do the same thing. God, if you ever turn on a sports talk station, which I unfortunately have done a few times, those people are out of their ever-loving minds. You listen to people that are big politicos and really into that, and they will burn each other alive because they differ on one small issue. It's insane. It's not that serious, people, man. At the end of the day, just be nice to each other, for fuck's sake. It's not that hard. And especially if you're talking about pro wrestling, for God's sakes, it is fake fun with people in tights. If we were really, it's really easy to break down almost anything and make it sound insane. Like, I've been in really heated religious discussions before with people, and you just get to the point where you realize, you're like, probably about 15 to 20 seconds, I can make every religion on this face of the earth sound like the most insane thing in the world. Just sound like some cockamamie bullshit. And yet we're here ripping each other over over people in boots and tights. Hell, half of them don't even wear boots anymore. They wear sneakers. That are fake fighting. Air quotes, fake fighting. I'm not, degrading what they do because I love pro wrestling. I have like 3 passions outside of my family and life, and pro wrestling is one of them. That having been said, I have a real hard time watching WWE every week. Anymore, I watch NXT, and I will watch the highlights on YouTube because, yeah, I'm sorry, Vince McMahon drives me insane. But not because of Starrcade. Not because of this. Far more angry about the misuse of great wrestlers than bringing back the name Starrcade for a night. And I understand I seem to understand not knowing what's actually going on in the heads of the Rhodes. I can see that it would be irksome to them, but we don't know what's going to happen at the event. And but yeah, people need to calm down and get off their high horses.
Yeah.
So that is something that's frustrating. Because, like, you go into Facebook groups on wrestling, and it's kind of vile out there. And I don't spend much time in a lot of wrestling groups. If I was smart, I would go in there and promote my show and try to push that. But I don't, because I don't want to deal with it. We have a group that was started by my co-host, Floyd Johnson, on Facebook called The Club, and it's actually people on there are nice. They don't yell at each other. They're very strong disagreements, but it's not you're wrong, you're gonna die, have to burn in hell kind of stupidity. So yeah, that's people just in general need to calm down. It's not that serious.
Yeah. And I'll also say that I used to frequent Facebook groups a lot, but it got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm starting to think of wrestling as a business and why Zack Ryder isn't going to be world champion, and these people are complaining, oh, his name's Jon Moxley, it isn't Dean Ambrose. And it's like, what the fuck? What the fuck am I doing here?
Yeah,
what the fuck?
And of all the names, I mean, Dean Ambrose is actually a better name than Jon Moxley. I'm sorry. That's of all of the shitty ass WWE names that have been bandied about over the years. That one's not bad. And even like the one that always pops into my head as a terrible WWE name, once I kind of, and not because they told me, but once I kind of figured out the meaning behind it, I went, oh, that's not awful. Cassius Ohno.
I knew you were going to say that name.
Because it fucking sucks.
I know.
Until you realize Cassius, that is Muhammad Ali's name before he changed his name, and oh no is, oh no, I'm about to get hit in the face. So it makes sense. Oni Lorcan is another one. What the fuck is a Lorcan, and how are you an Oni? It doesn't make any sense. There's apparently history to that. Like, you can look into it, it has to do with some stuff. But they haven't told us that. Oni Lorcan's great in the ring. Those matches he had with, what the fuck is the other bald guy? The British dude. Anyway, they're forming a tag team. Those were great. They beat the piss out of each other. But we never had a moment where he explained, here's my name. People knew me as Biff Busick for years, but now I'm this. Which they did with Finn Balor. They completely explained what Finn Balor means. Hell, you didn't see it on TV, but when he debuted, he came out, the straw and said Prince Devitt, and then changed to Finn Balor, which I still think is stupid that wasn't on the actual episode of NXT. They did show that in the a couple of the different Finn Balor-related documentaries that they've done. But, yeah, I mean, come on.
Yeah, I agree.
Dean Ambrose is not a bad name. Sorry.
Well, and I'll just throw this out there that I am a part of, Facebook pages that I actually enjoy, and that the people are actually very, nice people, and I'll put them over that it's the World Class Championship Wrestling Facebook group that I'm not really active in that much anymore, but also the Total Extreme Wrestling 2016 podcast Facebook group, which is the computer simulation wrestling game that allows you to be an owner, a booker, and run a wrestling company booking the shows, signing the talent, releasing the talent, running the pay-per-views, etc. It's a great game from Great Oak Software. No, they're not paying me to say this. I actually do love the game. I've loved the game since, for God knows how many years at this point. But both those Facebook groups are great, and just to get back to the Starrcade thing, instead of bitching, moaning, and complaining about Marks, if the Hardys have it their way, the Young Bucks will be the ones who face them.
And there better be film. I mean, oh my God, that would be... And again, man, if WWE is at all serious, if WWE and Sinclair are at all serious about trying to come to some agreement, because, I think Ring of Honor, Sinclair didn't go with Flow Slam because they couldn't come to an agreement on money, and because I think Sinclair has all the WWE network where they wanted to have their content end up. So yeah, if the Young Bucks showed up, oh my God, that would be awesome.
Well, there is one thing that may be missing, and that is that if the Bucks are there, why couldn't the pro bono leader of the Bullet Club be there too, in Cody?
I mean, they both have stateside exclusive contracts with. So, yeah, it would make sense for them to both be there. It would be logical. So if it's logical, that means it probably won't happen. But yeah, that would be so cool. But then again, that's why have cameras rolling, show the stuff on the network, and chalk it up to there are going to be people that show up that you would never dream would appear in a WWE ring. And for one night, man, license that Bucks music, get them in, bring in Cody, let them wear Bullet Club shit. I mean, it would be great. And why not, man? Why not? We need to have more interpromotional stuff, but WWE is run by a bunch of petty bitches, and they don't want to share the wealth. Why haven't they released a large chunk of the people they have that are standing around twiddling their fingers every Monday and Tuesday night? Because they don't want anyone else to have them. So, you can tell my love of WWE.
So, just to retrace our steps, we've offended Marks, we've offended the WWE, we've offended, in a way, Cody and Brandy. Because they're petty enough that even if you speak their names in an ill will way, that they'll get offended, or at least Brandy will. And I kind of think I just offended him again. So, well, I don't know what it is, but every time I record, me and whoever I'm recording with usually offend someone. So, yeah, we're right on track.
Excellent. Always glad to help out with that.
Yeah.
And I'm an equal opportunity offender. So, having been said, people do need to stop worrying so much about what people say. And that goes kind of around. It's around the board. It's people of all stripes, and because it's so funny. You see people that will get so up in arms about someone says something offensive, and yet they'll turn around and say just horribly things, and then scream about free speech. It's like, I'm sorry. Which way do you want it? Do you want people to have free speech, or do you not want to be offended? Because they are not the same thing. And that's a concept, not to get all, heady here, but the true idea of free speech, I think, is something a lot of people don't really grasp, that it is, people can say whatever they want, and you're going to be offended by it at some point. You don't have to like it, but that is the law of the land, and we have that ability. Now, there's a difference between free speech and saying fire in a crowded theater, because that's inciting riot. Those are completely different things. But yeah, I mean, you either love free speech or you don't. And so often what happens is these people who, what I like to call freedom for me, but not for thee types. They will defend the rights of some people, not all people. And it's like, just, you can't have it that way. I mean, yeah, I can, there are certain protesters of certain varieties, that did some horrible things in the Carolinas, that I think are awful, horrible people. I defend their right to stand out there being stupid morons, because that's what this country is supposed to be about. Yeah, whatever your thoughts on the president are, before he was president, now, I mean, he's allowed to say whatever stupid shit he can. Should he be a little more responsible about it because markets can crash based on something dumb he says on Twitter? Yeah, probably. But if he wants to say something stupid on Twitter, as we have seen, by all means, he's free to do so, because that's what makes the United States great. And that's one of the best things we have in our country, is the ability to just say any stupid shit you want. You may not enjoy the consequences of it, but you can say whatever you want.
So I'm pretty sure you just defended somebody else, so that's...
Job here is done.
And just to bring everything full circle, fuck the owl, so we offended other people too.
Oh man, fuck the owl. God. Speaking, okay, so, are they still called GFW? I mean, what the hell is going on with that? So, because the sale apparently never went all the way through, and Jarrett's on a extended vacation, so to speak. So are they going to just Photoshop out the GFW logo and just, we're Impact, yay! That company just needs to go away. It's just so sad. I don't want, and that hasn't been said, I don't want any of those people to lose their jobs. They have some great talent in there, but it's just, it didn't work.
From what Corny said on his podcast, it seems like Jeff Jarrett does actually have some sort of personal issues that he's dealing with, so that's why he did step away. But Corny also did not give any indication that Anthem actually wants to sell anytime soon, so that's a good sign, at least for TNA, and possibly hiding the negativity, because as Corny also said, that if people would actually pay as much attention to the negativity as they do to the product, then the product wouldn't be in the shape that it's in.
Yeah, very true. Very true. And, I mean, by all accounts, Jeff Jarrett's dealing with a lot of personal problems, a lot of addiction issues. He's a bloody mess at the AAA show. If this is taking a step back to go clean himself up, figure his stuff out, then that is fantastic. Then I wish him nothing but the best of luck. It just, the poor thing, it looks like such a shit show. And I feel bad for they have there. It's, you know, you've got some great talent on that roster, and it's, like you said, this happening in the ring is being completely ignored. I don't watch the product, but I hate the six-sided ring. So that's my problem with it. I loathe that ring, like with a fiery passion.
I hate Josh Matthews, so we're even.
I would try to watch it.
I hate Josh Matthews, so we're even.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, he sucks too. He's no bueno. No bueno at all.
The booking was only half the reason why WWE sucked in 2010.
The other half with Josh Matthews. Yeah.
Yep. I love the Pope. You know, I love the Pope, but I mean, JB isn't really that much of an announcer either. But
well, they should have hired those two guys that they had come in that did the announcing on that one pay-per-view they had that for the match that had Josh Matthews in it. Those guys, and I did watch that, those guys were awesome.
I know Fran Charles was the play-by-play guy. I forget who the color commentator was.
It's like they were like two ESPN dudes, something, I don't even know. But they did a great job.
Yeah.
But
Well, but it's like I keep saying, Mike Tenay is still under contract.
Yeah, I mean, they could use him, but...
Mike Tenay is still under contract. Why the fuck isn't he there? Don West is under contract. Why the hell isn't he there?
See, for me, Tenay cannot be your main guy. Tenay has to be a side person. Most of that's because I cannot stand the sound of his voice. He and Shivani always had a good repertoire in WCW, but and I'm a big Tony Schiavone fan. I've always liked Tony Schiavone's work. Even when he was just over the top and phoning it in, there was something hysterical about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tenay, they need to do something. And I mean, honestly, I thought changing the name to GFW was a good start. Getting rid of those TNA initials was
I agree.
overdue.
I agree. But dare I say that Josh Matthews is more of a Tony Schiavone-esque announcer, that he's more of a sports entertainment announcer than a wrestling announcer, and having a sports entertainment announcer is by far the last thing TNA needs. Sorry, GFW needs, because they need to differentiate themselves, and I feel like that's what Tenay gave them. A differentiation, because Tenay was never the sports entertainment announcer. He was more the wrestling announcer. And, you know, having a wrestling announcer instead of a sports entertainment announcer allows the company to be different, because that's what the problem is. That's what Michael Cole is in WWE. He's a sports entertainment announcer. He's not a wrestling announcer.
Yeah, and Michael Cole,
I mean, Michael has his moments. Michael has his moments, but, you know.
Yeah, no, he has moments. He was excellent on the Beast in the East. So I go back to that a lot. I loved that show. That was a fun show. He was really, really good in that, and that's because Vince McMahon was screaming in his ear the whole time. So that just...
But
that goes to show. Yeah, you know, speaking of, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Have you been following the whole Evolve WWN Flow Slam thing?
Here and there. I haven't stayed on top of it, but here and there.
So yeah, I guess this all dropped over the weekend, or this weekend. Flow Slam pulled the Evolve pay-per-view that was going to happen either Friday or Saturday night, and has sued WWN over basically WWN giving them incorrect information about how many viewers they have, how many subscribers, all that good stuff. And I just thought this was really interesting. I think Flow Slam's big problem, I think, is the fact that it was essentially the WWN plus a couple of other things, and it was $20 a month. You could pay WWN for less than half that, and just use their service. And Flow Slam, I think, when they were putting it together, they talked with Ring of Honor, they talked with New Japan, they talked with CMLL, and had this idea of becoming this place that had all of these different companies in there. And as we mentioned earlier, you know, Ring of Honor said no, because the reason I think that people figure is they're hoping on the WWE network. You know, New Japan said no, obviously, because they've got their own over-the-top service. So Flow Slam is kind of sitting here almost destined to fail, because for Pete's sake, it's $20 a month. It's not worth it. I don't spend $10 a month for the WWE network, and that's for shows that are actually well produced. Why would I spend $20 a month for Evolve shows, which have amazing wrestling but look like crap? And they haven't put in money into it, so WWN just put the pay-per-view out themselves. They were giving discounts to people who were Flow Slam customers. And I guess, from what I've heard, Flow Slam does not want to end the contract. They just want to renegotiate things. It's freaking crazy.
Yeah, and I'm about to offend more people, so here we go. I have had interaction with the people at WWN Live. I've had interaction with Sal, I've had interaction with a few other people, and they seem like great people. Sal was also always very nice and professional to me, And for those who don't know who Sal is, he's a high-ranking management person in WWN Live, and also the former or current owner of Full Impact Pro, down in Florida. But, you know, with that being said, even in the best companies, there are also some bad eggs, and dare I say the Vince Russo of WWN Live, Gabe Sapolsky, doesn't have the best reputation in the business right now. And though Gabe has an amazing eye for talent, there is no doubt in my mind that Gabe has one of the best eyes for talent in professional wrestling, because he found Gargano before WWE, he found this person, he found that person, and best used them to the best of their ability. But Gabe lacks a business sense.
Yeah, he's a tremendous booker, and he has a great eye for talent. His business acumen, I mean, he helped, he was one of the people that helped start Ring of Honor, and ended up being outed from there. WWN should be a bigger deal than it is. Evolve, honestly, should be a bigger promotion than it is. And it's not. I mean, it's a place where people go and have amazing matches. And from that, the in-ring product is, from everything I've watched, is outstanding. And it's just a great place for people to go and work, as far as the wrestlers are concerned. But with the talent that they've had, there's no reason why they shouldn't be, up at the same level as Ring of Honor. And they're just not.
House of Hardcore is on a higher level than them.
Say that again?
House of Hardcore is on a higher level than Evolve, in my opinion.
I can see that. And they don't even, I mean, Hardcore is really irregular with their shows, from my understanding. I don't follow them very closely.
Yeah, I haven't really followed them that much anymore either. Or I don't really follow them that much anymore either. But, just the fact that House of Hardcore was able to secure a television contract on a temporary basis, but a national TV deal with the Fight Network. And they were, in business 2 years? Evolve has been in business for probably, 5-6 years at this point. They've never even come close. And I mean, I always say that Tommy is one of those people in this business that nobody hates. It's pretty clear to me that Gabe doesn't share that same Tommy Dreamer aura that Tommy has about him.
Yeah, I think you're right. And, I know that WWN Live and WWE were pretty close to working out a deal to put the Evolve stuff on WWE Network, and my understanding is Vince saw it and said no. He just thought the production value wasn't good enough. And from that standpoint, I can't really blame the guy. Though I think Evolve would be a perfect fit on the WWE Network.
Yeah.
Because they do, or at least have in the past, worked so closely with WWE. I mean, hell, at this point, Gabe Sapolsky should probably just be a WWE employee and scout talent. I mean, let's be real. Because that's kind of his de facto job anyway. Kind of, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a pay-per-view coming up.
I heard that too. I mean, it's been a while.
Jesus. On a scale 1 to 10, how excited are you for No Mercy?
The likelihood I'm gonna watch it, probably a 5 or a 6. I would probably, dare I say, wager that a 5 or a 6 is the same as, a 5 or a 6 is the same likelihood that I'm gonna, a 5 or a 6 is as excited as I am about the show, because pay-per-views aren't just 2-match cards.
Yeah, pretty much. Now, so since being your show and all, did you want to go through the card and do some predictions, or did you just want to talk about parts of the show you're actually interested in?
Well, we can go through most of the show, because I'm just going to do it for memory. We don't, we'll cover most of the matches. If we forget one or two, then who really cares? But I did, Miz is defending the Intercontinental title tonight.
So, do you think there's a likely chance Jason Jordan wins?
Well, funny thing is, I was actually asked the same question yesterday, and I'll say the same thing that I said yesterday, and that is that the Jason Jordan Kurt Angle storyline has sucked. But with The Miz, I had not seen Jason Jordan get any sort of reaction since the start of that storyline before he interacted with The Miz. So I think having The Miz in the storyline will do nothing but help it, and it would be idiotic of WWE to kill the storyline this soon, and you say, oh, how are they going to kill it? Having Jason Jordan win the Intercontinental title tonight would kill the storyline.
Kill it, very much so, yes. I agree. I don't think that Jordan would be... I think it should be a good match, and him get to the point where he's about to win it, and either Miz just beats him or shenanigans. But yeah, he does not need to be winning this belt. It's too early, and and you're right. The Kurt Angle thing stinks. It's just stupid.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Jordan will be Intercontinental Champion, and I think he has what it takes to win the title. But I think putting that off and having a lesser Daniel Bryan versus the Authority type thing, the numbers game, and, where he keeps coming close but keeps getting screwed, and, this, that, and the other thing, that I think that would be better because you can prolong it.
Agreed. And Miz is on fire as the Intercontinental Champion. The belt means something with him as Intercontinental Champion, so why in the world would you take it off him?
I mean, even if you do, he's going to end up back with it because they'll never make him WWE Champion again.
No, and he doesn't need to be WWE Champion at this point. I don't think people would buy him as WWE Champion, but they certainly buy him as Intercontinental Champion. And I would like to see him have, at some point, a run that is longer than that of good old Honky Tonk Man.
I definitely think that Miz would make it work, and I think Miz would be one of the few people that actually should get a run like that, because he would never let you hear the end of it.
Exactly.
Talking about another clusterfuck and something else that has actually been booked pretty poorly, and that's the women's division.
What? It's been booked poorly? How dare you?
I sense a little bit of sarcasm there.
Yeah. Try a lot. A lot of sarcasm.
I mean...
what a clusterfuck.
The year's almost over, right? And, yes, to be fair, at least Sasha Banks hasn't gotten another four women's title reigns like she had last year, so at least it's a little bit better in my opinion than last year. Is that fair?
Oh yeah, that is very fair. That part is very much so.
But I don't know, would you say that the problem is depth? That they don't have enough depth in the division? Or that they're not using the depth that they do have to the best of their ability? Like, in your opinion, what do you think the problem is with the women's division?
I think it's both. I think the fact that they have such a small division and they are not using it very well is really, I mean, the depth is a huge issue when you've got two people maybe in that division in this freaking match. And you look at this because the match is it's Alexa Bliss, Sasha Banks, Bayley, Nia Jax, and Emma. Emma's in there to eat the pin. I mean, I think we all can think of that. Can agree on that. I mean, if they really want to swerve everyone, they have Emma win tonight, but I don't think that's happening. My co-host Floyd said he thinks what's happened is Alexa wins. She comes out and says, "I've beaten everyone. No one is ready for Alexis," and that cue Asuka. And Asuka comes in. But then, okay, so we've got, if that happens, and I think from everything we've heard, well, no, they haven't announced Asuka's going to Raw. A lot of these people, think about it, she feuded with Bayley, she feuded with Nia Jax, she's had matches with Emma, she's had matches with Dana Brooke, so she hasn't faced Sasha, so that would be something different. She has faced Bayley. She destroyed almost everyone already on this roster. So she's going to come in, and it's going to be fucking boring, because she's going to kill everybody. And then it's waiting for Charlotte. That's all we're going to do. So I don't know. There's really a part of me that wonders if they should have kept the women on one show and then moved the tag teams to another show. And that way you had two bigger divisions. The thing that going forward I think is going to help is the fact that they have signed so many people, or in the process of signing so many people from the Mae Young Classic, that I think a lot of those ladies are not going to spend a ton of time in NXT. Yeah. NXT is about to have the deepest women's roster of the entire company. And for a while they didn't. It was really sad. It was just not much going on. But they're going to be able to start sending more ladies to Raw and SmackDown and deepen those rosters. But it's funny. It's such a screw up on Raw, but the women's roster on SmackDown isn't any deeper, and they at least have compelling stories. You could make the argument that on paper, the Raw women's roster is better. Hell, you can make the argument that on paper, the Raw roster, period, is better. But they do more with what they have on SmackDown.
Yeah. You know, what I could see is maybe WWE keeping Asuka on Raw until the Superstar shakeup and sending her to SmackDown after the shakeup.
That would make sense.
Because I agree with you that I think that the big ticket item is Charlotte versus Asuka.
Yeah, but what we don't need is that blown off in the next couple of months. Because WWE has a really bad habit lately of not building up to anything and just shooting their load real fast.
Mm-hmm.
And they really need to work on that, because it's bad.
Yeah.
So that's the women's match. Was there any? So there are two matches that to me are kind of. I look at this card and there are only really two that I give a crap about. I wouldn't be surprised if they're the same. You mentioned two matches. So what are the two matches that you were looking forward to, actually, or interested in on this card?
Well, before getting to that, if we could talk about the tag team title match.
See, that's one of my matches.
Oh.
That's actually what I care about. So yeah, that's perfect. I think this will be a great match. I mean, this should steal the show.
Yeah, I agree that it should. I just think that the booking could have been done better.
You know, that probably goes without saying.
Building up to the pay-per-view?
Of course, saying that, this is a guy, I haven't watched a full episode of Raw probably in 2 months. So I'm seeing scraps here and there. That's I love professional wrestling, and WWE has done such such a great job of making me not care about their product that despite the fact that I do a wrestling podcast every week, I still can't bring myself to watch all of Raw. So, I think that's an indictment of the product right there. But this match I'm looking forward to because I love Cesaro. He's one of my favorites, not just right now of all time. I think he is fantastic.
Yep.
And here's a guy who made me not hate Sheamus. That's crazy.
Yeah, because I remember how much you hated him.
Sheamus sucked, and he's great with Cesaro.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. You know, but the only thing I will say about this match is that it is pretty obvious to me that Seth and Dean win. But then the question is, where do Cesaro and Sheamus go from here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true.
The problem with how they booked Rhino and Heath since they came to Raw is that if they booked them a little bit stronger, that could have been a perfect feud for Cesaro and Sheamus to keep them on TV. I'm not saying a long-term feud. I'm just saying that even if they wanted to keep them out of the title picture for a month or two and brought them back in around the Royal Rumble because it is September, so you keep them out of the title picture until, Royal Rumble or what have you, and then you bring them back around Royal Rumble or whatever. Or even if you make them go separate and you do what they're doing with the Hardys, you have them go into the Intercontinental title picture to give them a little break from the tag team division. You don't have them feud, though. You have them do exactly what the Hardys are doing, and that's challenge for the Intercontinental title. And you say, oh, but the Miz is Intercontinental champion. Get the belt off the Miz.
If they put the belt on Jason Jordan, you could have some wacky random, let's pick 6 people and have a 6-pack challenge and see who wins to face Jason Jordan. And Cesaro could win it.
You put Cesaro and Sheamus in a feud with Jordan. That'll keep you busy for a month or two. I mean, they still could have Rhino and Heath Slater feud with Cesaro and Sheamus. Give them a win over, a surprise win, and then you have a little feud, Cesaro and Sheamus lose because of rage disqualification, the feud continues, Rhino and Slater face the tag champions, Sheamus and Cesaro screw them out of the belts, blah, 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 blah. They could feud for, 2-3 months, just based on that. And then you have Cesaro and Sheamus jump into the Intercontinental title picture. You keep them out of the title picture, because I brought it up on last night's podcast with Attitude of Aggression that I think Cesaro and Sheamus should have been moved to SmackDown.
God, yes. And I hope they do move them to SmackDown whenever the next shakeup happens.
Because the Fashion Police would do good on Raw.
Yeah. One thing that would be, I think, interesting if WWE had a kind of ranking, and it could be a simple, all you'd have to do is say, look, you guys had your shot, you lost, you now have to work your way back through the other tag teams to get another shot. And sometimes they make some of these storylines too complicated. You just make it about the title, have some kind of system where, and NXT does this you lost your shot, now you're going to have to work back up for something. Roderick Strong lost his shot. He had to go through a bunch of hoops, and now he's getting a shot at Drew McIntyre. So if they did something like that with Cesaro and Sheamus, and in the meantime, you have them challenge for the Intercontinental title. You have them, feud with someone else. And not everything has to be storyline feuds. You can just have matches because the winner of the match gets closer to a title opportunity using WWE speak. So that's the way I would do it. But you're right. They need to be over on SmackDown just 150%.
Yeah. Because even them feuding with Sami Zayn and Ty Dillinger to get Sami Zayn and Ty Dillinger on TV.
That would be great because they're doing dick all with those guys. Why not make them a tag team for a while? And you think about it, Cesaro and Sheamus started off as just some random ass tag team. Let's just put these 2 guys together because we have nothing for them. Yay! And it worked.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. But yeah, so you agree that Seth and Dean win tonight?
Oh God, yes. They're not breaking out a Shield reunion anytime soon. Because on top of that, if you think about it, Dean and Seth have nothing else to do right now.
That's true.
They're not going to sniff that Universal title anytime soon. So they've got nothing. So you take two guys who are main event level guys. You have them hold on to the tag team titles for a while. And whoever is the team that finally beats them, that's a big deal because you just beat two former world champions to become tag team champions. So that's what you build up. You could really build up that division. I say they hold on to it for a long time. Maybe lose it when the Revival get healthy. The Revival. The other thing I think would be really cool is you could have them maybe even get involved with the Cena Reigns match. Maybe have Cena to be the point, which is probably the other match you want to talk about for sure. Cena be dominating, and then Dean and Seth come out, and Roman wins, and then if you really want to get people to react and truly feelings about Roman Reigns other than we're so sick of the way you're booked, you have the Shield do the fist bump, stand in the ring, and then Roman destroy Seth and Dean. And I don't need you. I'm better than all of you. And have him go full-blown heel. Never going to do it.
That's true. Never going to do it.
We would all shit our pants.
Yeah,
that.
That's true. That's true. Well, since, to save the best for last, because, obviously you're more looking forward to Cena and Reigns than the Universal title match, so let's, it would be inept not to talk about the Universal title match when talking about a pay-per-view for at least a little bit.
And actually, to be honest, I'm more interested in the Brock Braun match than I am the Cena Roman match.
Oh.
They had that first promo where Roman forgot his lines, and that was so uncomfortable. I felt so bad for him. And Floyd, my co-host, brings up a great point that it is really unfair to Roman where you have a guy who has to read lines, and because that's just the way they have built him. He has a script. He has to follow it. And you have John Cena who allowed to go off script to do whatever the hell he wants. That is not an equitable situation to put anyone in. Here, at these lines, you need to follow them, but this guy you're going to be interacting with can say whatever the hell he wants. Fun. And Roman just, I don't know if he's just not quick-witted enough or what not to up with that. And some people just aren't. On the fly, I'm not a very good arguer, so I can come off like a moron sometimes, but I don't think I am. So maybe Roman's a guy, his train of thought gets broken, so he looked like a complete fool. And John Cena just rubs it in, because really, John Cena's a dick. But yeah, I'm as far as matches are far more looking forward to the Brock Lesnar Braun Strowman match. Though I think it's a foregone conclusion that Brock Lesnar walks out with a belt.
I mean, I agree with you too. There was a time when I thought that Braun could become Universal Champion, but I think that the way WWE's been booking, it's that they want to keep the belt on Brock. I don't think that they should keep the belt on Brock until Mania, because unfortunately I think that they're heading towards a Mania rematch between him and Roman. And I don't think that Roman should become a Universal Champion again at WrestleMania. I have no problem with, now, just to point it out, I have no problem with Roman Reigns becoming Universal Champion again. No problem at all with him being World Champion. But I think the worst thing you could do for him is to give him, number one, if you're going to give him a Royal Rumble win and then the title shot at WrestleMania, that would be the worst thing you could do. The second worst thing you could do is giving him another title win at WrestleMania, because what's the difference if you give it to him at WrestleMania or you give it to him at Money in the Bank? Nothing. It's pretty clear that you're invested at 150% in Roman Reigns. It is pretty clear that you love Roman Reigns. But you don't have to give him another WrestleMania moment, because how many WrestleMania moments can you give one person? And if you're going to say, oh, Triple H, when he won the title against Triple H, everybody was booing. Yes, because you wanted to give him another WrestleMania moment. There's a reason why everybody was cheering when he lost to Seth.
Oh, yeah. And the biggest problem with Roman Reigns is the way he has been booked. I think people are getting to the point where they go, okay, Roman can actually, he's a good wrestler. We just hate the way he's booked.
Oh yeah, I agree.
So, excuse me. I just lost my train of thought. But yeah, I see. If it had been me, I would have put the belt on Samoa Joe. Either have Joe beat Lesnar, or have Joe win in that fatal 4-way and not beat Lesnar.
Well, that's what Edge said.
Do what?
That's what Edge said. He said he said that Joe and Brock should have been a WrestleMania match. And the WWE obviously doesn't do long-term booking. If they did, that would have been a WrestleMania match.
Well, I mean, that having been said, they don't do long-term booking, but they are long-term booking Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. And that's been set up for a long time now.
Yeah,
and they just won't let that shit go.
But
no one wants to see it.
How many... Well, look, I have no problem with the idea of Roman versus Brock. I understand that they want to put Roman over the only person that he's never beaten. But, what? You're going to give him, his 17th straight WrestleMania main event? You know, it's like, number one, he doesn't need to be in the main event. Number two, he doesn't need to wrestle for the world title. And number three, if you want people to actually continue to start liking him, then don't put him in the main event. Don't put him for the world title, because him versus Brock doesn't need the world title. Especially if Lesnar is done after WrestleMania and then he's leaving. There is no reason whatsoever that Lesnar needs to hold the title until then. And you say, oh no, yes he does. Survivor Series is right around the corner. You want to make Survivor Series mean something? Have Brock drop the title at Survivor Series.
Amen. I agree. But because he's not going to be in a Survivor Series match.
Yeah, I agree. I hate John Cena, but I'd rather see John Cena get his 17th title reign over Roman Reigns winning it again at WrestleMania.
100% agree.
Yeah.
100% agree.
And to those who are listening, we're not doing a disservice to Brock and Braun, even though we haven't talked about it. The build to it has been amazing. I think you could agree with that. But it's just more like the build to Samoa Joe versus Brock Lesnar at Great Balls of Fire than the build to, Goldberg versus Brock last year. I mean, Goldberg versus Brock at, what's it called? WrestleMania. Because to say anybody thought that Goldberg would beat Brock at Survivor Series last year, they'd be lying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I think this match with Strowman is going to be fantastic. Strowman is a guy who has just gone from when we first saw him being just gigantic, but so green, and now he is so good.
Yeah.
So good. And just like that, when he took that German from Lesnar and just popped right up, that was some cool stuff, man. I loved that. And just the way he did it. And I think what's going to be potentially cool about this match is, like his matches against the Big Show, he could do stuff. He will be able to do stuff with Brock Lesnar he can't do when facing other guys. Because he has this crazy athleticism that we just don't get to see very often, because he's facing guys in sometimes literally half his size.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm hoping for some potential Lucha Strowman.
That would be interesting. Well, now to the Cena Roman Reigns match of the question that I think a lot of people are wondering is this the first and only meeting between them, or do you think that the WWE will try and match the Omega-Okada trilogy with their own trilogy?
Well, it's physically impossible for them to match that with John Cena and Roman Reigns, because that is, as good as both of those guys are, and I'm not burying them, they are nowhere near the in-ring level that Okada and Omega are. They aren't on the storytelling level that Okada and Omega are. So, could they attempt it? Sure. Do I think that they will? I think all of that depends on whatever John Cena wants to go do. If John Cena's at the point where he's like, nope, I'm done for a while, see ya, I've got some TV shows to go film, then Roman Reigns is going to win and we're never going to hear anything about it again. If not, then it'd be different, though I will be shocked if Roman Reigns does not win.
Well, number one, it could never be like Okada and Omega because Dave Meltzer will never give a WWE match 5 stars.
6 stars, sir. 6.
And if it was me, I went over this once again last night on the podcast because we discussed the pay-per-view. That's the reason why I keep alluding to it. That I thought that the best way for WWE to do it, now it could go either way. I think it could go either way. But I'm going with John Cena. Now, I may be doing the pay-per-view predictions later today, and I may say Roman Reigns just for the fuck of it. And yes, I know, I didn't need to say fuck of it, I'm just cursing for the sake of cursing now. Whatever. This video wasn't going to get monetized anyway, so who cares? But the point is that, seeing John Cena win, in my opinion, would, number one, surprise a lot of people, and number two, it could in fact be a way for them to develop sympathy for Roman Reigns.
Yeah, I mean, it could. The one guy who, and the big thing that I find curious about this whole idea is, who does Vince choose? The guy who has given Vince a hard-on for a decade and a half in John Cena, or his new fantasy, the Simon Cena Roman Reigns. I mean, that will be kind of interesting to, more than anything else, this match comes down to two things. One, whatever John Cena is doing next, and two, who really, truly gives Vince McMahon a bigger boner.
Well, what I'll say is this, that I laid it out like this on last night, and that is that I think Cena wins, and that they go about it that Roman Reigns now has something to prove. And they don't hold the match in October, and I'm presuming TLC. They hold a contract signing in October, and then they run the match at Survivor Series, number one, to make Survivor Series have a bigger feel, and number two, because the more build you have for this match, the better this match will be. You can put it over where you can actually show Cena and Roman training. You can give Roman days off of Mondays off, a couple weeks, to have him out training for the match, to make it seem like a bigger deal, to make it where a Survivor Series match for the first time in a long time actually has the feel of a WrestleMania. And you can build off of what happened last year with Goldberg and Brock Lesnar having a marquee WrestleMania match at Survivor Series.
There you go.
I think you could, I think if it was me, you have the first match tonight, the second match at Survivor Series, and you either blow it off at the Royal Rumble or WrestleMania.
I like it.
Knowing WWE, they'd probably blow it off at Royal Rumble if they did do what I'm saying, because I don't think Vince wants Cena versus Roman at WrestleMania. for whatever reason.
Yeah, because he wants old Brocky Brock.
Well, I mean, you want Brock in a marquee match, especially if this is Brock's last WrestleMania, because his contract is coming up. I think it's possible. I think it is possible. I think it would have been more possible if Jon Jones didn't get in trouble again, but I think it's possible. And yes, if you're listening, yes, I did have to make that remark because we had to offend Jon Jones fans, because I know most Jon Jones fans believe that Jon Jones can't do anything wrong, and, well, that's just not the case, so I had to offend other people before we finish this episode of Express Talk.
Alright, so who else do we need to offend?
Well, I'm gonna kick the ball over to you. Anybody you want to offend, anything you want to hype up, any social media you want to talk about, go for it.
Well, yeah, thank you. I don't want to offend anyone else because I think that has to come through. But for those of you who are interested, we do a weekly podcast called Around the Ring. You can find us online at aroundtheringok.com. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all that good stuff. The handle is Around the Ring OK. And I've got a co-host by the name of Floyd Johnson. Michael's been on the show before. He's always fun to have on. And we just dropped our latest episode. I finished actually uploading it just a little bit ago, so it is now online. You can check it out. We talked a lot about the WWE that came out, kind of went through that question by question, and all the different possibilities that they had on there. That was an interesting survey. We actually just finished running a contest. So we're in Oklahoma, and one of the premier indie fed in Oklahoma is called the Imperial Wrestling Revolution, and they have their big event every year is coming up in October, and it's called Oklahoma. And during the morning, they're going to have a big convention called Oklacon from 9 to 4, and then Oklahomania is after that. And we actually run a contest for someone to win tickets to come to both with myself. So we actually announced the winner today is a friend of the show named Ryan. So he's going to be joining us for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. And I remember last time I was on, you had a picks where you talked about indie wrestling and your indie wrestler of the week. And I want to give a shout out to an IWR worker, a guy by the name of Chandler the Truth Hopkins. He's actually going to be making his Ring of Honor in-ring debut in a few weeks when, I think it's actually the same night as Survivor Series. Ring of Honor has a big event at the Ox Convention Center in Oklahoma City. He and a fellow IWR wrestler, who's one of the Arrow Club, I think it's a Coyote. Crap, I forget his name. This is great. They're a great team. This heel tag team, a couple guys who are Native American, and when I saw them live, one of them threatened a kid. It was fantastic. But Chandler is one of those guys. When I saw IWR, he's ripped. He can move, and I looked at him and I was like, that dude is going to eventually someday be either at the very least in Ring of Honor, if not in WWE. Mm-hmm. I mean, this match he's going to have is basically a dark match. You know, Ring of Honor does that. They'll bring in a lot of local talent for prelim dark matches. Mm-hmm. But he's a super nice guy who's actually on our last week's episode. He joined the show for an interview. So you can find him if you just Google Chandler the Truth Hopkins. On Facebook, it's IWR The Truth, or The Truth _IWR on the Twitter and Instagram, the same handle on both of those. And they have an event coming up, IWR, called Sold Out for Life. And he and his tag team partner, they're called the Young Guns. They are their gimmick is they're cowboys. They're going to face the Steiner Brothers, so that's going to be pretty cool. IWR also has a joint pay-per-view with GFW hopefully still on the books coming up. So it's going to be a pretty big event for those guys. So yeah, just shout out to Mr. Hopkins, The Truth. We love you here at the Around the Ring camp. So yeah, that's what we got going on. You can, but yeah, if you're interested, if you, for whatever crazy reason liked what I was saying, just search for Around the Ring. We're on the YouTube, the iTunes, Stitcher, all that good crap. You can find us all over.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna try and tap into my broken universe. So that was wonderful. The Guns of Youth.
Yeah, actually, their handle on Facebook is The Guns of Youth. Facebook.com/The Guns of Youth. It's fantastic.
So props to Imperial Wrestling and also to Chandler Hopkins for being this week's Independent Wrestler of the Week and Company of the Week. And I also just want to give a quick shout out to Billy Garcia from, yes, the former Survivor contestant, as he and I will be recording later this month, we'll be continuing to record later this month our series where we explore the territories, and this month we are heading to Portland to discuss the Portland territory, everybody from Don Owens to Buddy Rose to Roddy Piper. So that will be recorded later this month, and it's always a great time recording with Billy Garcia and discussing the old school territories. So stay tuned for that as me and Billy go back in the wrestling time machine to Portland and see where we can go in that territory next. And if you want to find out where we went last month, the video is up. Me and Billy discussed Florida, and as Billy said, that during the video, my rant about certain members of the Florida territory, specifically the son of the Championship Wrestling from Florida promoter, was the best rant I've went on in any video that we've done thus far.
Nice. You know, real quick, my first live wrestling event was a Championship Wrestling in Florida event. The main event was defending the WA Southern Heavyweight Championship against, I don't know who. Bushwhackers were on as the sheep herders. They were in a barbed wire cage match or some nonsense. It was a good time. So we had front row seats to that.
Now, was Jack Victory with them yet?
Oh my God, dude. This was like 30 years ago. I don't know.
No, I think he started working with them when they were in Memphis or with Crockett's. Oh no, I think it was in Memphis because I think it was the Kiwi sheep herders.
Nice.
Yeah, Jonathan Boyd and Luke Williams, I think. Because I think Butch went back to Australia, or Luke went back to Australia, and it was Butch and Jonathan Boyd. I forget. Well, I mean, there's no better way to end it than with an obscure reference of Jack Victory being the flag bearer for the Bushwhackers.
Yes. Can never go wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed, we got to have at least one obscure reference.
Very much so.
But at least one of us remembered to do the Independent Wrestler of the Week, because I was going to end it before we shouted out the indies. So good on you for that.
Thank you. I try.
Yeah. So at the rate we're going, I'll have you on for season 3, whenever that is.
Awesome. I look forward to it. Man, I always have fun being on your show, having you on our show. So, doors always open. Whenever you want to come on, if you got something you want to plug, just holler at us. And anytime you want me on, just let me know. It's always a great time.
Well, that's great to hear, and I appreciate that, and anytime you need a guest, I'm always here. But I just wanted to mention before we go that something that I did mention and that me and Dave on Attitude of Regression talked about last night is that the WCW book is coming along, and even though I would probably say back in May when I was on your show that I said that the book was almost done, The book is still almost done. I decided to add a little bit more to it. I actually was doing a little bit of research last night, and I figured out that I could add another section to it. So now that's adding 2 new sections to the book that weren't in it before. And that's really the reason why I have put the publishing of it on hold, because one of the sections does include a little bit of law, and I just wanted to make sure, wanted it to be looked over by somebody who knows. Well, it's the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, the act that came out after the Enron scandal, and I just wanted to make sure that giving it to somebody, because to make sure I'm not talking out of my ass with it.
Anytime you get into legal areas, it's a very good idea to
yeah, and the other section is just basically asking questions, and one of those questions that I found, yes, it was from a forum, but the person on the forum did bring up some good points that basically, to underline it, it's if AOL Time Warner didn't want WCW anymore, why put a clause in the contract that said that they would maintain minority stake interest and TV rights to WCW if they didn't want the company? Why keep the TV rights? Why keep the programming of a company you don't want? That's
a great question. The only thing off the top of my head, and I can't wait to read your book once it comes out, but to make Ted Turner happy. I mean, that's about the only thing I can think. But yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, and I'm really looking forward to this book.
And that's one of the many reasons why I did the research to begin with, because there were many, many, many questions like that about this sale. When I best described it on the show last night, that this is basically the stuff that I found is basically stuff that's flown under the radar for the last 16 years.
That's crazy that it's been 16 years.
I agree. I remember it like it was yesterday. And
Dark day in wrestling history.
Yeah. It's tough because a lot of people that actually, I'll say, and I'll just say this to wrap it up, that I know there are some people that may say, oh, you're running down, it's like I said on your show, when I was on your show discussing this for the first time, that some people may say, oh, you're running down, Wade Keller and the people who actually did do the research, and you weren't there, you don't know what actually happened. Number one, my intention was never to run down Wade Keller and all the other guys that did the research and were there and had the articles that I used for my research, because why would I run down their work because if they never did it, I wouldn't have it. I wouldn't have been given the ability to do it in the first place.
Well said. Yeah. Yeah. Much appreciation to the Kellers and Meltzers of the world. They've done a great job for a very long time.
I agree.
Wrestling news.
I agree. And the other part of that is, you're right. I wasn't there. I don't know what actually happened. Nobody knows what actually happened. And I say nobody knows what actually happened because the people that do don't want to talk about it anymore. The Eric Bischoffs of the world and the Brian Beatles and the Steve Greenbergs and all those other names that I could name that nobody's ever heard of, they don't want to talk about it anymore because it's the Bob Ryder, because I know he's not going to watch it. It's the Bob Ryder type thing of, I work through it, I did write stuff about it, but I don't want to talk about it anymore because I moved on from it. You're entitled to write about it, you're entitled to do whatever you want, just leave my name out of it. That's what Bob Ryder told me directly. I mean, yes, you may say, oh, you're not leaving his name out of it because you mentioned his name. Bob Ryder's not going to watch it. Nobody's going to watch it to say that that I actually included anything that Bob Ryder directly quoted, because I'm not directly quoting him. I'm just saying that Bob Ryder told me, you could do whatever you want, just keep my name out of it. That's what I mean, that everybody who went through it, anybody who could prove what I'm saying wrong, my theory wrong, doesn't want to talk about it anymore and won't care what I'm saying. Because they moved on. You know, and the only way to prove what I'm saying wrong is to have the legal documents to prove it.
Yeah, there you go.
And I'm not, you know, that's the other thing. I'm stating my opinion. That's it. I'm not stating it as fact. This book has nothing to do with facts. Well, actually, it has a lot to do with facts. But it's not, it's facts based on, it's facts based on my opinion. Pretty much. And how I put together, it's basically using the facts, I formed a theory, and that's how the facts tied into it. You get what I'm saying? I'm trying to, I'm trying to explain it in the best. I'm trying to explain it in the way to you know, try and, you know, stunt the idea of this is not fact. I mean, this is not my opinion. It's fact. No, it's facts, because everything that I've written about is researched. But it's my opinion. It's a theory. It's not fact. I'm not saying it's fact because I couldn't prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. If I did, it would be on the PWI Insider. It would be on PW Insider's website, because I was in contact with the owner of PW Insider to run the story, and he said if I could prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, he would run the story. But because I told him I couldn't, he didn't want to. He didn't want to risk himself, his site, the credibility. He wasn't going to run the story based on a theory. I have no ill will towards him. He's a great guy for actually giving me the opportunity and helping out in the little ways that he did. But that's basically the best way I can prove my point, that if it was a fact and it was proven beyond a reasonable doubt, it would be on the PW Insider's website.
Nice.
But I appreciate the fact that you're actually looking forward to the book, and the book will be out eventually. Basically all I can say about it is that it is in the final stages of development and is very close to being sent into the publishers.
Very cool. That's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
So with that being said, and my last little tangent out of the way, for those who are listening and those who are watching and those who are however the hell you're hearing this, if you let us know down in the comment section below, I'm going to try and have this up before the pay-per-view tonight. So let us know down in the comment section below what your predictions for the pay-per-view tonight are. And if you have an opinion on anything else we discussed, from Bobby Heenan to Global Force Wrestling to WWN Live's situation with FlowSlam TV, anything you want to let us know about in the comment section below, feel free, because as always, feedback is more than welcomed and appreciated. And also, if you even want to be on Express Talk, I don't care where I find the guest. If you want to be on, let me know down in the comment section below. But if you don't want to leave a comment, you can always leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this that you can only find right here at Wrestling Express. And before we go, I just want to thank Dave Brown once again for joining me on this week's episode of Express Talk.